Real thoughts, real trades, real journey. A video journal documenting the lessons learned on my journey to becoming a disciplined trader. Welcome to Trading the Journey. I'm Neil, and today I want to share a trade that taught me one important lesson. Let's see what the market had to teach me. So, today's trade was a loss because I did not filter out the trade properly. While the price action went down at the opening, and mind you, my bias for the day was bearish. It did pull back because I had in my mind it was going to pull back and then continue down. So it did the pull back and continue down. But I took a long trade after several rejections off of an important level that I drew, which was my 5-minute fences trade. That opening range that I normally draw in the morning. So I took that long trade. I could have went in a little earlier and maybe gotten a 1-to-1 trade, a small win. But I decided to wait longer because I considered the price action a little choppy. I had drew a line saying to myself, if it gets above here, I'll get in. And I actually got in kind of anticipating that it was going to do it instead of letting it close. Sometimes that's okay if the price action is clean enough. But today, the price action on the way up to where I got in was not all that clean. It formed a couple of bases here and there, but it just wasn't all that clean. I went in anyway, and the trade turned back around and stopped me out. It continued sideways for a little while, and then it started going down in the direction that I had formed my bias on. So the market basically told me that I should have filtered a lot better than what I did. Choppy price action and waiting. The patience was there. The stop was in place where I thought it made sense. And it just didn't work. So the lesson really was pay attention to the price action and learn to filter out what's not an A+ trade. So let's go ahead and get into the trade and show you what had happened now and show you what happened. Now the video is going to be sped up to a degree, but you see that I got in. I set my stop. You see the yellow line there. That's where I originally was going to wait for the candle to close and then get in, but I didn't do that. I got in and anticipated, like I said. And you can see that it's starting to come down a little bit. It kind of goes sideways here momentarily. But it started looking good there for a moment. I set my price levels where I was going to take my profits. And this was all after my normal routines. You can see where the pre-market high is and the pre-market low, the light green and the light kind of pinkish line. When it held above that pre-market low, I thought I had a chance at going long and taking some profits. And so, but you can see there was a couple of times here where it was just kind of up and down a little bit. And the 9 SMA was deviating from the 20 SMA. But then we got this big candle happening here. The sellers are stepping in, but then the buyers came back in, pushed back up a little bit. And it just continues from here. Let's watch and see what happens here. So right here with this candle close, that was really, that was the first real warning shot that the market was giving me that this trade was not going to work out. And you can see that the candles before I got in, it rejected off the top of that box. And then it rejected off of here after that large candle. So it was going back up. Buyers were stepping back in. And it was a nice, pretty decent candle close from there. But then it kind of came back down and just sort of went up and down here a little bit. But that bear candle was the warning shot. I think it's two bear candles. The one was more like a hammer. That hammer candle was the one that right before that bear candle. I think that was really where the turning point was. And now you can see another bear candles forming. It's just, yeah, it's pretty rocky at this point. And you can see that the indicators are converging on them on each other here. They're starting to get closer to together, and it's just. But yeah, that was the turning point. You never know what's going to happen. You know, it could have just as well went up. I thought a pennant was forming here. It looked like it was forming a pennant. And it could have gone up further. It was just the way that I was reading it. But looking back on this chart, I mean, it's just choppy price action. And then right here is where it broke the structure. And it stopped me out. Yep. And then, boom. The hammer is dropping. So we get this candle close here, and then the next candle is the one that stops me out. And you'll see, like if you pull up the MNQ chart for today, you'll see that it did come down to the pre-market low, rejected, and then later it ended up as a bearish day. So, and that's the trade. You know, plain and simple. I mean, I think if I learn to filter trades a lot better, I think I'll get more A+ setups at this point. So, but that is the lesson. You know, you just got to learn how to read the chart, read the action, and take your best setups. And that was not an A+ setup looking back. Well, thank you for joining me for today's lesson. The market is voted. Today's lesson is written. I hope something from today's trade helps you on your own journey towards becoming a more disciplined trader. If today's trade reminded you of something you've experienced yourself, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective and your thoughts. If you enjoyed today's journal entry, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button on the video and subscribe to follow the journey. Until next time, real thoughts, real trades, real journey.